Okay, live from Austin, Texas, it's the Plutopia News Network Community Happy Hour. The not ready for prime time players are partially here. We have our friend Suzy Shelor. I'm Scoop Sweeney, and of course our maitre d' for tonight's soiree, John Lebkowsky.
Oh, yeah. What will you be having tonight?
You're the maitre d', you tell us.
Hold the trump.
You're severely underdressed, I think.
We're having an open house, which means that we've given other people the means to log in. And Gary Gach is here with us. He's muted,
Yay.
but he's here. And Marsha Lebkowsky is here with us.
Hey, I know her.
Yay.
Hey.
I do too.
And Suzy was just in the process, was just about to tell us a story about Timothy Leary, right?
Yes, I was. I met a guy who wrote a book about him, and his name's Bill Minutaglio, and it's called Most Dangerous Man in America. And it's about, it makes reference to the Nixon attack on Leary. And what happened was Nixon had decided that he needed to put all of the anger of the country off on Timothy Leary using the drugs. And John Lennon, when he decided that Timothy Leary decided he was going to run for governor of California against Ronald Reagan, John Lennon wrote his theme song for the convention or whatever, and it was the song about here comes old Blacktop. He drinks Coca-Cola. He's one.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of that song?
Come Together.
Come Together. That was the Timothy Leary campaign song when he ran against Ronald Reagan for California governor.
Of course it was.
Oh, who knew? Who knew? That's not really a good campaign song, I wouldn't think.
No.
You kind of,
if you read the words,
you had to be there. I was there. It worked ish. It required the proper frame of mind, and in those days, my mind was full of crazy monkeys, and I think half of them were rabid.
Well, if you were hanging out with Leary or any of those folks, you probably had monkeys in your head. They put them in your Kool-Aid.
I had the joy of being in a press conference with Timothy Leary with my friend Ed Ward and some other people from the San Francisco press. He was a guest at the Libertarian Convention in 1977. Now that him and Robert Anton Wilson were there. And that just fried my mind, just hearing that, so I had to go.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's when he was on his space migration trip. He was going to burn down the Earth and send us all up in rocket ships, him and Gerard O'Neill. So never quite worked out like a lot of Dr. Tim's grand plans. He had good intentions, I suppose.
I was definitely a Gerard O'Neill fan.
I get, and yeah, though I do get political ones with from, this is Dan from whoever, and please chip in $25. And I don't even know if they're legitimate. I gave directly to the Biden-Harris campaign, but I don't know that I want to give to, one random, because I don't know who they are. There's a million of them now.
Well, there's a lot of people working through Act Blue. And I was actually complaining earlier today, or maybe yesterday, about a text that one of us got that it was really not clear exactly who was going to get the money. And it was through Act Blue, and it turned out on investigation that it was from a PAC called Stop Republicans. And it looked like they were soliciting a contribution for Biden or for the Democratic Party. But in fact, what Stop Republicans is doing is similar to what the Lincoln Project is doing. They're just running ads, basically, and they're funding those ads through donations that people give them to their PAC. And then the PAC pays for the ads. I think that's kind of the main thing they're doing anyway. And their approach is it appears to be modeled on the kind of Republican approach to like strike fear in the hearts and, get people really emotional and excited and so forth, which is something Democrats typically have not done. And arguably maybe they should be doing it, but I was a little put off by the messaging because they were sounding really desperate. And I don't think the Democrats need to sound desperate right now.
I don't think you need ads to stir people up and get them frightened of Trump. Just turn on the TV, for God's sake.
Yeah, really, just watch the RNC.
Tonight's the big night. And those of you who are planning on watching Trump, good luck. But I did come up with, I did my research. There are alternates. And of course, tonight, what's love got to do with it? Tina Turner beats Ike with a rolled up lyric sheet. And then those of you who miss the cold weather, A Merry Christmas Match is on Hallmark. Of course,
Excellent.
Roadkill Garage is on tonight. And that's where they try to unbang up the fenders on a slow armadillo from the Texas highways. And of course, my favorite, Dr. Pimple Popper is on tonight.
Oh,
I believe
hate
it.
the word.
I believe it's the scab special. So there are alternatives to
even that is better.
I'll be doing Dr. Pimple Popper with the sound turned down. Actually, I should probably turn the video off and listen to the sound.
There you go. Because ooh.
And that's my contribution to the class of tonight.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I could find pretty much anything else to do.
So, Marsha, you're over there. What are your plans tonight after this fiasco that we're doing?
Oh, well, we're probably going to watch some old TV show or something.
Now, that's a wise choice. I kind of figured you weren't going to be running out to put on your red Trump tie and
No,
tune into Fox.
that's garbage. Yeah, it seems like the old TV shows are a little better.
Even the
Oh,
new.
what's this?
That's the pre-show, the RNC pre-show from
Wow.
YouTube. I'm turning
Oh
back
my
off.
God.
That's enough for me.
That's just, the whole thing is ridiculous.
Well, I'm choosing not to watch, to remove myself from his viewership.
Yep. Bring his ratings down.
Yes.
That's the worst thing you can do to poor little Donnie is, you can steal his money and disrespect his wife, but don't mess with his ratings.
Did y'all see any of the last few days?
I saw the screaming Guilfoyle. I saw that. And I saw Donald Trump Little Donald, DJ TJ. He was on something, and I think his girlfriend was on it too, because they were on fire.
They were talking all over the internet today about trying to figure out what substance Donnie had stolen from Dad's stash, and there were all sorts of speculative guesses there.
I think, he takes that Sudafed. Trump takes a lot of Sudafed. There are several pictures of him in his office where like a drawer is open and there are 3 boxes of Sudafed. One of them's open on the desk. And a lot of people think that's why he sniffs all the time.
You know why you have to get permission to buy Sudafed at a lot of drugstores?
It's like
the key ingredient
like a cocaine.
methamphetamine.
Right, exactly.
So all the meth monkeys are out there looking for Sudafed, and I guess
he gets the best.
Always the best.
This is only speculation. Yeah, I'm just pulling it out of my hat, which I'm not wearing, and making a big guess. But having lived in the Bay Area for a long time, I got to where I could pretty much spot various people with various disabilities of that sort. And
Yeah.
Mr.
So what do you
Sniffles
think
is the
Donnie
big
Jr. was on?
I think he had snorted some Adderall.
He-
I mean, I really do. There was something real wrong with him.
I don't know that it was Adderall.
he was
We've
on
done
an
an
ego
Adderall
trip is
too.
what he was on, I think, with a little assistance.
Yeah. I don't know. It was something. He was not okay. And then poor little Eric had to talk to his dad personally through the TV because I guess his dad won't see him anymore.
This is like a
I'd like to speak directly to my father. Take my phone calls.
So there is actually a rumor that Donald Trump may have taken Adderall at some point.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Every day. Every single day. Yeah,
Which
I think they've
means
got a
that
problem.
he's very focused.
On what?
he's focused on that mirror is what he's focused on. No,
We're at the golf course.
Now, see,
Golf
we have
course.
drifted into political gossip here,
see,
and
Johnny
I
put it on the
think-
flag.
I think we should continue talking about the robocalls a little bit longer.
Okay.
Because Scoop wanted to.
Okay.
Well,
But Scoop, you haven't said anything about him yet.
My computer problems that I encountered trying to get onto this little clam bake short-circuited me, and I actually ran off a recording of my answering machine. I'm very old school because I'm old, and I used to rely on my trusty voicemail, but it was just too much of a pain because 99% of the calls that I get are from someone either trying to sell me something, make me vote for somebody I hate, or steal my information. With the big thing this last couple of weeks is people saying they're from Apple and from Amazon and various things saying, oh, we've got a problem.
FedEx.
Please call this number and help us clear up your problem. It's like, I don't have a problem, but you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Or your social security card has come back with a we're going to arrest you. The police will be there in
there's a
10
fraud.
minutes.
There's a fraud case against you, and
oh yeah, I
the
get
only way
that.
you can clear it up is to wire money to this address
Immediately.
immediately.
I get the IRS one a lot too. That's one of my favorites. But
I call them back. I'll call them back and eventually they'll block me.
Oh, we got into a fight with a couple of these guys one time. Man, they were like, they started getting really mad because we weren't. I can't remember what the call was about.
I've
This
been
was several
called
years
names
ago.
by
This was
them.
early on, before they became
Weren't
so.
allowed to.
well, John, I may be able to give you a sample of this that I ran
good.
off. You'll have to tell me if it's coming through or not. Wait a minute. Let me do the share screen thing of advanced sharing. Nope, that's not it. There's a option to where you can. It's not coming up. Anyway, we will.
Oh, for playing music?
Yeah.
I wonder if I need to. Let me look at advanced sharing options. It looks like you should be able to share.
Well, let me try playing this, and since we're such a nice casual group here, let's see how this comes through.
Okay.
Tuesday, 4 p.m.
$29 from your bank account. If you would like to cancel or refund this, you can call us immediately at 626-416-2833. Thank you.
Your account, and it will be processed by the end of today. To speak with a representative for cancellation and unrecognized charges, please press 1 now. Please select a valid option to connect with our representative. Thank you. On account. We have received an order from your Amazon account. for an iPhone 11 Pro worth $999 and is ready to ship to your mentioned
Yeah,
address.
dream on.
If you want to
I'm
make
doing
any changes
$999.
with your order and shipping details, or would like to speak with an Amazon representative, please hang up and dial 40635966000. Thank you.
Thank you. And it goes on.
Oh
I
my
won't,
God.
inflict too
I've
much
been
of
getting
it.
them from,
But it's identical robo voice message, but each time the phone number that you're supposed to call to clear up the problem with Amazon or with Apple support is always different, which means they're using burner phones to lure someone in, and as soon as they get someone's credit card number or account number, then they throw that phone away and try another one.
well, I wonder, okay, so
You go
how
from-
do they
are you-
disguise,
Oops, sorry there.
how do they disguise the phone numbers, like when it calls in and it actually says Apple? I mean, I think that's called phishing. Is that right? I'm not sure.
Spoofing.
Yeah,
Spoofing.
they do all sorts of creative spoofing. I've gotten ones from Donald Trump, and when I picked it up, because I really wanted to talk to Donald, it was somebody from one of the cruise companies. We're going to go on a big Republican cruise. It's like, nope.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Only for a very short time, I think.
Mm.
So who else has scam horror stories? They're everywhere these days because the coronavirus did us a big favor, actually, because my burden of scam and robocalls and begging calls went to zero when the coronavirus came out, and of course that probably is because a lot of the call centers and companies that do this had to close down, or they ran out.
I'm still getting them.
They ran out of employees, but they're on the rise now, along with everything else.
Yeah.
So I guess they figured that Donald is going to pardon them all.
I'm thinking more about the political messaging that's been coming through since, of course, that was one I mentioned earlier. But I was also thinking back to where all this started, which was the Howard Dean campaign, when Howard Dean was able to raise a lot of money, leveraging the internet to some extent, and he was the first to do that. And he really sort of woke the other politicos up about the potential for using social media, et cetera. But the real moneymaker for his campaign was not so much like social media. They certainly weren't texting people and that sort of thing, and they weren't doing robocalls. But what they did was they organized meetups. So they would use the online, meetup online to pull a meeting together, and it would be huge, and they would raise tons of money at these meetings. And that was sort of like the genesis of this. There's a book that I edited called Extreme Democracy that is quite a bit about those initial forays into political social media back in the day. And it was
like a long time ago to have, I think of Howard Dean and I think, did we have the internet at that time?
It was like 16 years ago. And a lot's happened since then. I mean, when you think about it, people didn't have cell phones then.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have had early cell phones, but it wasn't like
phones,
everybody had a smartphone.
Right.
And they didn't have smartphones. Smartphones didn't exist until a bit later. I can't remember when the iPhone first appeared, but it was a little later in the 2000s. And it took a while for those to sort of spread,
Right.
And we were, meaning I knew a set of people in this area here around Austin, Texas, who were thinking really hard about digital convergence, and really specifically thinking about how all things were starting to be digital, but that had
Okay.
not happened yet. And that actually is the kind of the origin of Plutopia, because it was a project to highlight digital convergence via the Digital Convergence Initiative of Central Texas, where I was on the board, that led us to start planning an event that became the inspiration for the Plutopia concept, initial concept, which was the idea of having conferences that were about ideas in the same way that a white paper is about an idea. In other words, you have a think tank, but instead of producing a bunch of white papers, it produces an event. And of course, you know, that's fairly common now. But all of that stuff was sort of starting to happen within the mid 2000s. That was like 2005 that we were having that conversation, or 2006. And we started a company called Plutopia Productions. It was Derek Woodgate and I, with Maggie Duvall, who's still part of Plutopia, and Bon Davis, who may show up here tonight. And we were going to produce events, really big events, and we needed a way to show, well, initially what we thought of was producing our own event, and we did that, but that was also supposed to be an example of the kinds of events that we could produce. And then we were going to production of like future-focused, highly technological events. And Scoop, I know, was certainly involved in all of those. Scoop became like the P.T. Barnum of Plutopia.
Come on down. There's one born every minute.
But those events were really hard to put together. They were hard to produce. And they were a lot of
Hard on our
work.
bodies and minds and the company's pocketbook.
Yeah, and then Bon always made us do the takedown at the end of the event, which was something that I hadn't really bargained for. That when everything is over and you think you can go home and go to bed, no, you've got to dismantle everything. You got to sweep all the floors.
Yeah, well, I had no problem with that coming from the concert production biz, because I was one of those mutant production managers that actually got in and helped the working stiffs that I was paying to do this work. When it got slow and stupid, it's like someone had to step in. Bond did a really good job of organizing the crews there, especially for the entertainment part. But it's hard work putting those things together.
So let's do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think Marsha ran away. Well, we'll ask Marsha if she wants to jump right in and maybe put her in charge of the volunteers or something.
Marsha probably didn't know she's still on camera.
Oh, I put together.
I think she heard me.
We're in trouble.
Did you hear?
We can't hear you, Marsha. You're muted. What were you saying, Susie?
Oh, I was going to say I've put together two marches now for the LGBTQ community here in Austin, and they were both pretty successful. They're pretty. But it's hard to. It's an interesting thing trying to be an activist online. You know.
It's like
What goes into planning a march? I guess you have to get a permit, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And usually you can get people to help you, to sponsor you, or like the Pride here in Austin helped us quite a bit. But you also have to apply for lots of permits with the Capitol and with the city, especially if you're going to march. If it's just on the Capitol, it's just the Capitol grounds folks you have to talk to. And then you have to get cops who are going to, you have to pay the cops. Yeah, you have to pay the cops for that time. But when we had our march, both of them, actually, the city wrote them off for us. So we didn't have to pay anything to the city. So they just took care of all of it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it was. If you know, I mean, if you know how to work that system, and fortunately I had contacts who did know how. So it was really good to get that just wiped off. And
It's
it was
good.
fun. We had a good time.
It's good to have a helpful city. I
It
did
is.
the event with one of my partners in the Bay Area called Festival at the Lake in Oakland, and we would get 250,000 people into a little park in downtown Oakland for a weekend, and it was also surrounded by a lot. Most of the gangbangers would show up at our gate trying to gain admittance so they could do their business. So we had a lot of cops. But it was funny. My wife, Clarissa, was the queen bee of the exit gate where all these people would gather because they thought they could sneak past this little Portuguese woman and get in through the exit gate.
Yeah.
And she sweet talked all the Oakland cops that were right behind her, and she would get out and lecture these guys and give them hugs and say, "No, honey, you can't come in." And of course, she didn't realize there were a bunch of great big cops right behind her, kind of looking like, "You better listen to her." She had a lot of fun, but she used a lot of psychology. She was actually hit in the face by one kid who wanted to get in. She had a bullhorn, and she was telling everyone that the festival was over and everyone should leave. And this kid hit the bullhorn, and it went and busted her lip.
Ouch.
And the cops immediately started coming, and she said, "No, no, no."
Oh.
And she told the kid, these guys want to take you to jail. If you'll give me a hug and promise you'll go away, we'll let you go. And this kid was humiliated. All of his friends were around giving him, all sorts of grief because he's got a hug to stay out of jail. And he finally gave her a hug. She gave him a big hug, and the kid just kind of went slinking off. So that's really the key to those kind of events. You don't have to be mean. You just have to use your brain, use a little, tender, loving care to people who don't have that in mind. And a lot of times that'll disarm them. It certainly did in that case. After that, I never worried about her after that because of course, I knew she had backup too from the Oakland SWAT team.
It would certainly be, now it would be like such a welcome change to see somebody try to be, cooperative and compassionate.
Instead of just shooting them in the back 7 times.
Or, shooting them while they're trying to protest. Mm-hmm. My mind is kind of blown. So a guy walks up to his mom and he says, "Mom, I want to go to the protest and shoot some people. Could I get a ride?" And his mom takes him and drops him off, and he goes into the protest. I don't know that he actually said, "I want to shoot some people," but his mom did take him, and
he's carrying.
Knew he had a gun,
and he was carrying a gun. He had an AR-15, I think. Yeah, and the police were kind of looking the other way, apparently. And this is in Kenosha. I'm sure most people have heard about this by now.
Yeah, it's all on video too.
Well, yeah, and I just kind of find myself wondering. So I'm of a mind that none of this stuff has to happen, and that we've all been driven a little bit insane by various forms of media, internet media, cable news, all of that stuff, and that, pretty much we're all just part of the same thing, right? But if you sow seeds of division, you can find power in that. Some people have learned, and that's what they're doing. And, where do we find the Clarissas of this world to be out in the streets and to be, bringing the level of noise down, undoing the division and bringing people together?
Yeah, and it's not it's no rocket science. Clarissa learned that from being on the road with me with the rock band I managed in the 80s. So she was constantly encountering, because she was kind of the mother hen for the musicians while I was up, doing lights and sound. and she'd run into, drunks and crazy people, and all never had to really have anyone kicked out, because she had, security guys around. But, just, you disarm them, and you take whatever, bad vibes that they're projecting upon you, and you turn it into something else, and it works if you
Kind of like Aikido, blood
Yeah,
with the energy of the supposed opponent.
You use their power against them. So, that's some of the old martial arts thing. Don't be vicious. Just take that bad stuff that they're trying to project upon you, and just kind of let it go past you, and to use it in your own favor to calm them down and make them feel embarrassed about what they're doing.
Meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
So nobody really seems to be doing this. I guess the the closest that I've seen is when all the moms got out to protect their kids who were protesting.
I was going to say that same thing,
Yeah, that's
but
kind
they
of a
were
similar thing.
kind of still divisive because, I mean, and the fact that those guys just shot rubber bullets at those women, how much more do we need to know? I mean, we've apparently forgotten about the kids in the cages. I mean, that's no longer really at the
It
forefront
seems
of the
almost
news.
quaint now, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Well, and I suspect there's going to be more and more protests, and there's going to be, I mean, when I saw that kid in the street actually shooting people, and, he was there saying that he was part of the militia. And when I saw that guys from the militia were showing up and they were getting a pass from the police, I realized that this thing that always seemed so remote, that it was like we would talk about it as a concern, but you didn't really quite believe it. But now it's becoming more believable that there may actually be violence in the streets where people come out with guns and start shooting people.
Yeah, that's not a new thing, really. I mean, not on, it's been around for a long time. Look at the history of the Old South, how things were done, during the civil rights.
Yeah, but the
struggle.
civil rights,
There
they
were
didn't
people
have
with guns then, and they were killing civil rights activists, or
It's
right
true.
and left.
But this time, I think civil rights activists are going to be armed too.
Well,
Yeah, that's kind of the difference. I mean, we come to a point where there's actual fighting in the streets, and there's actually a hot civil war.
That's what I'm thinking. And I don't know how we avoid it. I mean, no matter who wins, even if it's a landslide, even if it is a landslide, all the more reason to say it was rigged. I mean,
You're talking about the presidential race, right?
yeah.
but as far as people carrying guns, I remember when the Black Panther Party showed up en masse, armed, and in a bit of wisdom, they didn't have a big shootout with the Oakland cops and the Alameda County sheriffs, because they knew that the eyes of the world were upon them. There were a lot of media there, and that was one of those rare occasions where black men with guns were able to stand their ground and not die on that day anyway. But
On that day, didn't they kill that Fred? What was his last name? Hampton.
Fred Hampton,
I wanna
yeah.
say. Fred Hampton.
But I got to meet some of the Black Panther Party people at press conferences that they would hold over in East Oakland.
Wow.
And my next door neighbor, a very fine woman who passed away a couple of years ago, was one of the early female members of the Black Panther Party, and just a wonderful person. She was part of the people that did free breakfast for all the kids in schools, and that was way before any of the government programs. They were the alpha testers of that whole concept of give the kids a good breakfast.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't know. I think that people are saying to themselves, hey, there are certain kids out there who are not getting food right now because they don't go to school. But I don't know how they're fixing that. Maybe people aren't thinking about it. but I don't know how they're getting fed, these kids who, rely on that. I guess there are food kitchens and the SNAP benefits have been increased, but you have to go in the store to spend your SNAP benefits.
Do we have MySpace?
MySpace?
I don't know. Somebody's talking about MySpace in the comments.
Nice.
I thought it had totally been dead and buried. I know
I did too.
my MySpace died of malnutrition, I think.
So Reed, you say on the spot, but I'm still not grokking the fullness of it.
So
as they
is
say.
it
As they say
still
on Mars?
around?
Huh?
Is there still a MySpace?
Yeah, it still exists.
Really?
I'm pretty
Oh.
sure.
I thought they finally retired the servers and everything, because I remember seeing some stuff about, rest in peace MySpace. I wonder if is it still online there?
I'm pretty sure it is.
You're
Why
the
don't we
keyboard
look?
cowboy there.
Okay, if it's here, I'll find it.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can
Did
still
you-
log into MySpace.
Oh man, I wouldn't even know
Yep.
my username. Ah! I heard someone talking about an Earthlink account the other day.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
I still,
Earthlink is definitely still there.
I still have
Wow.
Earthlink.
Earthlink and Net Zero.
Yeah, now I remember Net Zero. That didn't last long.
It went really
Okay,
fast. to
guys,
Net
here we
10.
are,
Uh-oh.
Oh wow.
and it's still about music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was
Big
it about music
Boo.
before?
It was getting there. Musicians were starting to use it more and more, and it started to become more of a place where musicians. It was kind of like Bandcamp.
John, do a
I
search.
remember that one time.
Do a search on my name up the search bar. I wonder if this is all new stuff, because I
Yes.
think
Ooh, that's impressively big. Well, I got Scott Sweeney.
I get my lawyer.
Wow.
Gosh.
Darn musicians. Well, I can't really. Different spelling there.
Different spelling. Are you registered with a SAG card or something? Do they have that for radio?
I don't know about that. But there used to be another Scoop Sweeney. He was called Big Scoop Sweeney from Chicago, and he was a conservative Catholic activist.
That sounds fun.
He tried to browbeat me into changing my name, and
Hey, Reed
back.
Reed explained what he was talking about. He was talking about when I was talking about Howard Dean and early social media and organizing online. And he was saying that was when he had his first social media account besides the Well, which, the Well it's an online community. It doesn't work the way social media does, but there was a time when, you assumed that the Well was also social media. I guess I'm starting to think of it as being more of a refuge from social media right now. The Well being an online community that still exists and still is active, and people are still hanging out there. The only difference is that the people hanging out there now are kind of more geriatric. So Reed says, MySpace lets you organize your page the way you wanted, and Facebook was fascist because everyone's page looked the same. I remember that. You could definitely customize your MySpace presence.
Well,
It made it hard to find stuff.
Let's do Plutopia on MySpace. We'll just, lie that we're a punk band. And,
If we could only
we already have the
Zoom
funny
to
hairdo,
stream to
so.
MySpace. I guess
There's no way.
The closest we can come is that we could start streaming to YouTube instead,
We could do that.
which we did once, and which
And
might be.
we have
Viable.
another thing going on, John. We're already
Yes.
streaming somewhere else, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. So, Mr. Scoop and I have started a radio show
Yay.
because Scoop has his own radio station. In
A
fact, he
music
has
station.
two radio stations, but this particular one is called Alt Classics,
Nice.
ALTCLASSX,
Yeah.
and
It normally plays like new wave, classic alternative, early punk, stuff that, yeah, I was thinking of dyeing my gray hair blue just so I fit in with the,
well, you were
and-
playing Pictures of Matchstick Men by the Status Quo today, and you were playing Marshall Crenshaw, which is really not any of those other things.
well, Pictures of Matchsticks Men, that was, who was it? It was not the originals.
Oh, really?
I think it was somebody like Camper Van Beethoven or
Okay.
or Love and Rock. It's one of those guys. I have. There's only like 10,000 songs in my database there.
I'm
Well,
close to
so-
that too.
So when we do the radio show, Scoop adds our playlists. We each come up with a playlist for the radio show, and last Saturday was our first one,
Cool.
and we were focusing on mostly psychedelic music.
Nice.
A lot of it from the 60s and 70s. And this weekend we're going to do kind of more of the same, though I've worked more new stuff into my playlist.
And I've worked more old stuff that's, I even found there's some Captain Beefheart that is seldom heard. So that's definitely psych.
Wow.
And we're
That's gonna be
doing
fun.
we're doing this 8 to 10 on Saturday night.
Okay, cool.
And there's
8 to 10 Central Time, that is, which means that it's easy to tune in and listen to us.
And what channel are we on?
There's a link on to the station on the Plutopia website.
Excellent.
Scroll down, you'll see Radio Free Scoop there. And,
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can also find the link at stagedude.com.
yes.
All right.
And we've been posting on the Plutopia page about it and putting the link in there.
Yeah, and I put it
Excellent.
up on my Blabber site on Facebook, so you can't miss it. It's like a
Hey, speaking of radio, did you guys hear that Radio Free America is gone?
yep.
What happened?
Well, it's been replaced by Radio Free Plutopia.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. That's unfortunate though, because they were a great archive of all sorts of community radio nonprofits that have been around for years, and I know Rag Radio was. I guess pretty much all of their episodes have been archived there. I don't know what's happening with those archive shows now that it's going under.
Well, I know that the rag is covered because they're all in Briscoe. But other than that, I don't know what people are going to do. I mean, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of history.
Yeah. But, the whole thing with independent radio, which includes, internet radio and community radio, low power FM radio, that's under attack from all sorts of people. The FCC hates them because they are not towing whatever line the FCC wants them to tow. They're all independent and fairly progressive, and some of them fairly whacked out. But it's independent people, the communities that put together money to build a low power FM station. It's a special license. You can only get a few of them because they don't want to have a whole bunch of free speech advocates out there babbling on the radio. And so the FCC really prohibits that as often as they can. But internet radio is under attack right now by Apple. I thought Apple was the champion of independent producers, and it used to be anyway. But now that they have Apple Music, they are on a warpath to get rid of the internet radio stations. They deleted internet radio stations from iTunes before iTunes.
That's not it, though. It's because they started their own radio station, internet radio,
like
Apple
Amazon
internet radio.
Yeah, but even before they added that on, just when Apple Music came around, there were all sorts of apps were not allowed that played internet radio stations. I tried getting ours on, and I had it for a while, but then all of a sudden they said, well, you can't have independent internet radios apps unless you set up your own developer account at Apple on the App Store. So that it will cost people a bunch of money, and most people are just going on pennies for their budget for their internet radio stations.
Okay, well, let me just show you something here.
Scoop, how do you get licensed to play these songs?
I'm hosted through Live 365, which is one of the early internet radio providers. You pay them a monthly fee, and they provide the blanket license to play whatever music you want.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to. You can be independent and pay SoundScan I think it was like $500, which is kind of a down payment that they subtract, your plays of copyrighted music from that $500. You have to send them a monthly printout of everything that you played, and they calculate how much they are going to take out of your account, and it slowly goes down. But Live 365 takes care of all of that. So yeah, I got one less bit of book work.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna have to look at that.
This thing that I've shared here is a book length thing that's been published on Medium, and it will actually come out as a book at some point, apparently, by Cory Doctorow, our friend Cory. And it is called, it's called How to Destroy Surveillance Capitalism. And it's really a response to a book by Shoshana Zuboff about surveillance capitalism, which is a term that she sort of came up with. And Cory is basically questioning some of the things that she has asserted in her book. But one of the things he talks about in here, he's talking quite a bit about the big tech companies and how their business works, and how the real problem that we have today is not how they supposedly have some kind of impact on our behavior or whatever. But the real problem is that they're monopolies, and that we're sort of allowing them to be monopolies and to become more and more monopolistic. And he talks about the fact that Apple will tend to get ideas from people who put apps in the App Store, and once they decide to adopt one of those ideas, we'll take down the apps.
Yeah, they reverse engineer a lot of those things.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what you were talking about. And just within the last week, they launched this Apple Radio thing.
Right.
And you had just told me about the radio app that went away, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I mean, it's around the same time.
Yeah, it was in the lead up, to them doing their radio. But this was a great player. This guy's a programmer somewhere in Europe. I think he's German, either German or Dutch. And he created this marvelous thing called the Bat Player. And most of the apps that you see on playing internet radio, it basically it might have a graphic up there, and it'll show who's playing the song and the name of the song, and that's pretty much it. This guy had really nice graphics, and it streamed at 320K MP3, which is a lot better than a lot of the others. That they're usually at 128, which is a lot less quality. And they had graphics on there, plus they had text about the song and about the artist that was playing. So it wasn't just just this blank screen. Basically, it had a lot of information about each artist that you were playing, and they shut him down. That's the goodbye notice there, and they basically just said that they couldn't do it anymore because Apple don't like them anymore.
I don't think that it's personal.
No, it's never personal with Apple. I mean, or any of these big companies. It's never personal.
Well, here's the rejection
They
that he got.
Yeah.
As you can see, your app contains content or features that may violate the rights of one or more third parties.
Yeah.
And incidentally, Corey has a lot to say about weaponized copyright too.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he's been talking about that for a long time.
Yeah, things like copyright and patent is it's a whole battlefield. What's the East Texas county that is infamous for being the hotbed of patent lawsuits? I'm trying
I can't remember.
Well, somewhere around Tyler, I guess, in that area, and they have all sorts of patent attorneys who have set up offices or branch offices there because apparently it's really easy to get your suit filed and get, some basically a payoff from the legitimate holder of the patent. And,
It's what you call patent trolls.
Yeah, a lot of those guys out there.
And it's Marshall, Texas.
Right, Marshall. There you go.
Yeah.
Being the marshal for Marshall, arresting all those patent trolls. Sound like a good Western to me.
It does sound like a
That's
good
actually
one.
funny. Before we started, I discovered that CBS All Access has all the seasons of Gunsmoke on it. And I was watching Marshall Dillon.
I just got the app. It's a good one. It's a good one. Marshall Dillon. Well,
Yeah, so you got CBS and NBC both have their own sort of services
standalone.
now where
Yeah.
they are able to put all of those old shows on there that you couldn't find anywhere for the longest time.
Yeah. And I love it because I can choose my own channels.
Yep.
I love that.
And you don't have to watch the kind of dark and depressing and horrible television that we have today. You don't have the Perry Mason on there is like Raymond Burr in a suit. It's not Matthew Rice with a stubble and a bad attitude,
Yeah, that's just not Perry Mason.
I know.
Perry Mason is portly and well dressed in 50s business attire, and of course they've got the evil district attorney. I forget the actor that played him, but he really was mean looking and always seemed to lose. That's one good thing. You could count on the evil district attorney being told, sorry, not guilty.
I'm not guilty.
Well, we're running out of time. What is everybody going to binge watch tonight? I've been binge watching for a week now, all the Doctor Who's. I'm a total geek nerd. So
I am too.
Which Doctor Who are you watching at present? Which actor?
This one is David. I've gotten up to David Tennant.
Yeah, David Tennant was always my favorite.
Yeah, good one. But the first guy, what is it? Already forgot his name. Senior moment there. But I've actually watched some of the really old. Tom Baker was my favorite.
Tom Baker, he was the first one, wasn't he?
No, he was the 1970s, the mid 70s Doctor Who.
He was the first one I was aware of.
Yeah, because I used to watch it on public TV in the Bay Area, and they showed all those. But
What kind of pushback will there be when they have a black Doctor Who?
Well, they've got a woman, and ratings have been good. So,
Excellent.
you
That's great. That's everybody's pushing back on that Bond thing. Not everybody, but a large percentage of Bond fans. Because they've got a guy they're going to hire to be a black Bond. I don't know the actor's name. I forgot it. But there's been a lot of hullabaloo about that.
Oh, that's Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Is it Idris? Okay.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah,
He's
he's
a great James
really
Bond.
good actor.
Hell yeah, he'd be a good Bond. My God. But I don't understand. But that sounds good that they have a woman.
Binge watch, John.
Huh? What have I been watching? House.
Okay.
House MD. Yeah, and Marsha and I 3 years ago, I guess, started watching the old episodes of ER.
Oh,
And
good
over a
show.
period of 2 or 3 years, we watched all 15 seasons of ER.
Yikes.
So we seem to be real suckers for medical, really well done medical shows. we're starting to have the same kind of like devotion to House that we did to ER, and realize that it was great too. So that's one of the things that we're binge watching.
Yeah, I'm geeky to the core because we just got through doing a big binge of all the seasons of Numbers, which was another one of my.
Oh yeah, I'd love to watch that again. Where'd you find it?
On I believe it's on Hulu.
Oh, okay, cool. We'll track that down. That
Yeah.
was a favorite of mine too.
Yeah, it's
I always called it Numb Threeers.
when you have geeky people, who are into computers and mathematics, or being the hero types or heroine types, depending on which one of the geeks that you're talking about. So it's a great show.
I do have to recommend another one, The Umbrella Academy on Netflix.
That's what I'm in the middle of.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
isn't that great?
So good. So
I
good.
like that.
It's really, really good. I can't wait for next season. Did you see the cliffhanger, the end of the second season?
Yep.
I'm so excited.
No spoilers.
They did
I'll
hang us
start
right
watching
over
it.
the cliff too.
They did. I was just like, what? So yeah, it'll be great. You'll love it, Scoop. You'll really love it. It's fun. If you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and that sort of thing,
Oh yeah,
this is up your alley.
I have weird taste. Just everyone
Buffy's my
correct.
favorite.
Well, I'm gonna go off and do some binging. I wish everyone a happy binge. And see us again
please
next
join
week.
us at Radio Plutopia. Listen to us on Saturday night because we're going to be playing some really great stuff.
I may
Awesome.
even dye my hair purple. for the
Get out.
episode.
I'm there. Bye, guys.
Okay, off.
You can follow the Plutopia News Network at plutopia.io. On Facebook, go to @Plutopia News. On Twitter, it's @Plutopia. This is the Plutopia News Network, 20 minutes into the future.